Good morning, afternoon, and in case I don't see you, evening and good night. My name is Maddie Williams. The assignment was simple to state. A Sunbelt investor has $15 million and wants one chicken franchise. Chosen on 5 years of evidence, what I found is that the evidence itself does not hold still. The data moved. The recommendation did not. This is the Wizard's audit. $15 million deployed into one Sunbelt chicken franchise. 5 consecutive fiscal years, one segment, no substitutions. The question I was given is which chain? And the question I actually had to answer is whether that choice can survive its own evidence. Those are not the same question, and the gap between them is this entire presentation. Ten chains. Fiscal 2018 through fiscal 2022. The primary source is the QSR 50. And I cross-validated it against SEC 10K filings and issuer disclosures from Restaurant Brands International. There is a structural trap in that source. The publication year reports the prior fiscal year, so a 2019 data release is really fiscal 2018. Every file in my dataset checks its own file name against the year printed inside it, and if the two disagree, the load halts. And the workbook has exactly one sheet of typed values. Every other cell is a live formula. Delete the inputs, and it computes nothing. Nothing is pasted. Defect 1 is estimation. 6 of the 10 chains in the base year carry the publisher's own asterisk for estimated figures. Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Zaxby's, Raising Cane's, El Pollo Loco, and Church's. A second tell agrees with the asterisk perfectly. Every estimated number is round. Every reported number runs to the dollar. The $10 billion leader of this segment is a round number guess. KFC, by contrast, is a reported $4.4 billion. 60% of the panel, by count, is estimated at the top of the 5-year window. They are not. Defect 2 is scope. Wingstop's published unit count flips between global and domestic in alternating years. Global, domestic, global, domestic, domestic. That means the source is measuring with a ruler that changes length between readings. The published gain in the first year is 225 restaurants. The real domestic gain was 97. They subtracted a domestic count from a global one and reported the difference as growth. Defect 3 lands at the worst possible place. The final year. Fiscal 2018 through fiscal 2021 come from food service results, confirmed against chain headquarters. Fiscal 2022 comes from Circana, with sales drawn from the CREST consumer survey and units from the recount location census. 20 cells in the final year were produced on an instrument that did not exist for the first 4. A 5-year growth rate then divides the end of one instrument by the start of another and calls the quotient growth. It is not growth. It is a comparison of two different measuring devices. Defect 4 is an absence. Wingstop, KFC, and Popeyes never disclose United States system-wide sales. Not once in any filing. Yum reports the KFC division worldwide at $31.4 billion with no U.S. per brand line beneath it. So the QSR 50's United States sales figures for these chains are not reporting facts. They are estimates by construction because the underlying number does not exist in public. And here is the proof. KFC's U.S. system-wide sales run 4,400, 4,820, 4,700, and 5,100, 5,100, two different vendors, two different methods, and the number does not move by a single dollar across the change. That is not measurement. That is a carried forward guess. Defect 5 is one I'm proudest of finding because it is about time itself. El Pollo Loco's fiscal 2020 was 53 weeks long. The company says so in its own 10K, and its revenue table is headed, quote, 2020, 53 weeks. That extra week is about 1.9% of the year's sales, and it lands squarely in the pandemic year. The published sequence reads as 1.7% decline, then a 10.6% recovery. Remove the phantom week, and it is a 3.4% decline, then a 12.8% recovery. One extra week corrupts both sides of the pandemic persistence metric. And I want to be honest about one thing. Because a control that never fires is not a control. I expected El Pollo Loco to have a scope problem as well, but it does not. The company discloses its Philippines unit and excludes it explicitly, and the QSR 50 copies that exclusion faithfully. Where the issuer is clean, the copy is clean. The error belongs to the sources derived fields and to the calendar, not to the filer. So I built two panels, as published and restated, and took the difference. Wingstop's published unit growth is 8.3% a year. Restated it is 11.2. That is 3 percentage points a year compounded, and it is entirely the ruler moving, not the business. Raising Cane's does not move. El Pollo Loco's units do not move. Of the 9 ranked chains, exactly one series was restated, and the segment median restated unit growth is 0.9%. Read that carefully. The source understates the one chain that is both growing and purchasable, and it understates only that one. So I ran the key influencers model twice. Once on the published panel and once on the restated one, and I put them side by side. The top influencer does not flip. It is unit count in both runs, but look at the strength. It pulls on segment rank, compresses from 2.34 down to 1.93 once the unit basis is corrected, and average unit volume falls from 1.68 to 0.95. The model was not lying. It was competently explaining data that was wrong, and it had no way to know. I even handed it the publisher's own estimation flags as candidate explainers, and they never cleared the threshold. XAI explains whatever you give it. It cannot see the ruler move beneath it. So this assignment asks us to separate a pandemic spike from real growth, and the obvious candidate is Popeyes. The obvious answer is wrong. The issuer's own results show United States comparable sales up 13% for fiscal 2019 and up 37.9% in the fourth quarter of 2019. That is before the pandemic. It was the chicken sandwich launched that August. This matters because the standard persistence metric divides recovery by a pre-pandemic baseline, and for Popeyes, that baseline is itself the anomaly. Popeyes is not pandemic dependent. It is a company that can execute a national product launch, and that is the more durable capability. Here is the uncomfortable part. The two fastest growers in this segment cannot take the money. Chick-fil-A is not a franchise. It is a $10,000 operator license that may neither be gifted nor borrowed, with no equity, no second location, and no franchise disclosure document to audit. Raising Cane's is the faster grower in the panel and is not awarding domestic franchises. Bojangles went private in 2019. KFC and Churches are shrinking on restated units. Boston Market exits the panel and is roughly 96% company owned. Growth is not opportunity unless capital can reach it. Wingstop. Restated unit growth of 11.2% a year against the segment median of 0.9%. Average unit volume rising in every single audited year from $1.14 million to $1.61 million. Actively franchising with a paper trail you can actually check. But a recommendation that cannot fail is not analysis. It's advocacy. So before I computed the restated panel, I pre-registered 3 ways this thesis could actually die. Restated unit growth must exceed the segment median all 5 years. Average unit volume must not decline in any audited year. And restating the data must not drop Wingstop out of the 5 top movers. 3 tests written down in advance, it passes all 3. Had it failed even one, this slide would just say so. Let's discuss the rule. Deploy in 3 tranches, released on evidence, not on a calendar. Halt if unit growth falls below the segment median for 2 consecutive quarters. Halt if average unit volume compresses for 2 consecutive quarters. Re-audit the source every year because it changed vendors once already without announcing it in the data. And the limitations stated plainly. Wingstop's United States sales are disclosed by no one, so that series in my panel is derived, not reported. And I will not pretend otherwise. Franchise disclosure document items 7 and 19 are still required before a dollar commits. What I can defend is the unit series and the average unit volume, and those are what the decision rests on. The decision rule is not retrospective. In fiscal 2025, Wingstop's average unit volume dipped for the first time in the audited history. That is precisely the halt condition the rule pre-registered, written before I knew it would ever fire. So the recommendation and its kill switch are now both in force at the same time. A recommendation that cannot fail is not evidence. This one can fail, and the first tripwire is already blinking. Every figure in this presentation traces to a filing, an item within that filing, and where the claim is load-bearing a verbatim quote. The 53-week year, the Philippines exclusion, the KFC division worldwide line, the Popeyes comparable sales, and the vendor change are all pinpoint cited here. Nothing is approximated and nothing that could not be located was included. The finding one last time. The model crowned unit growth. The audit found that units were the only thing anyone actually disclosed. They agreed by accident, and that accident is the finding. Thank you. My name is Matthew Williams. I'm a student at Full Sail University in the Business Intelligence Master's Program. Have a great day.